Hi, this is Cindy Huang with InPulse Creatives. We are back again for our Close Encounter series. Today we are in a very, very special place. I'm here in Bahrain, which is a Gulf country in the Middle East region, and I'm sitting in the main hall of the Bahrain National Theatre. And joining us today is Farah Mattar, which is the Director of Culture and Arts. And we're going to have a conversation about the National Theatre, but also a little bit about Bahrain, because it's a beautiful country that I don't think a lot of people know about. And hopefully, Farah can share with us what's going on here in Bahrain culturally. Absolutely. And what's happening in the cultural scene. And of course, we are in a very challenging time, and love to sort of have a conversation with you. Just to talk about what's been happening and what was going on culturally, and what is the plan with the theater and all the art scene here. So just introduce yourself, Farah. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to share with us today.
It's lovely to have you in Bahrain. I hope you're enjoying your time here. We've all had a very interesting year over the past 12 months. We've had to adapt and met many challenges, but the human spirit adapts, and we've managed to find things that we can keep going for culture and for arts and for music. So you're here in the theater. It's a very special place for us. It's built now, it's been 9 years.
Oh wow, okay.
In 2012, almost 9 years, so we celebrate a decade next year in 2022. Wow, okay. It's a space which we didn't have before. We realized there was a need for a highly technical performance space in Bahrain.
Okay.
There's a demand, there's certainly a cultured community and a population where there was a lot of growth in culture and a lot of demand, and we realized that we needed a space in which to host international companies coming in, ballets, orchestras, musical performances, and to get the capacity to upgrade from what we previously had. And so it was with the vision of Her Excellency Sheikh Hamay, realizing that we needed this, and with proposing this to His Majesty the King, and his full backing, and with his funding, we were able to bring this dream up and build it.
Wow. So I guess in comparison, for us, the cultural and the performing arts, it's such a, I think in other parts of the world, it's a lot more longer in history.
Yes.
And to hear that the theater is only 9 years old is really interesting, and I'm sure for a lot of the audiences sort of tuning in, what was then here before the theater, and where were the performances happening? Like,
we still had spaces for performances, and there was always a local scene for plays and music. They were just in alternative venues, or they were in purpose-built venues. So we had, before the theater was ready, we had built an outdoor stage and theater for a visit of Andrea Bocelli, and he performed in front of the waterfront, and it was very well attended, and luckily the weather was great, and it was such a beautiful performance because it was outdoors. But of course, it doesn't mean that the cultural scene started when the theater was built. The growing need was there. Bahrain has a very vibrant cultural scene. Individuals on their own have that interest in seeking creative projects and networking with other artists and musicians. So even before our role as a public institution to kind of put programming, the organic sort of appetite was there already. So we've had an annual fine arts show going on in Bahrain for about 47 years, almost 50 years. And it's an annual show, and it's been continuous over the past 47 years.
Because I did hear that the fine arts scene here in Bahrain is really, really robust.
Yes, it's quite vibrant,
I've had the fortune to meet a few of the artists, Bahrainian visual artists, which I thought was so fascinating, and to learn so much about this part of the world from the fine arts scene perspective. So is the National Theatre considered, is it under it's under the governance then, right?
Yes.
The theater is managed
managed
then
by BACA, the Bahrain Authority for Culture and Antiquities.
Ah, okay. So obviously right now, I think because of the situation, the theater has been closed.
Yeah, we haven't been able to bring in any shows from abroad.
Okay.
But we have used the theater the way we can to keep it kind of alive in people's minds. We've had press conferences held here,
Okay.
virtual ones, and interviews, and virtual streamed music concerts. So there have been performances. They've been abiding by all the regulations of distancing.
Yeah.
But we have managed to keep content coming,
Okay.
sometimes basing it at the theater and sometimes in other venues.
Okay. So we will have a chance to have a really special, unique opportunity to get to see the beautiful space here, and also we'll get a tour of. There's another smaller space as well, the Flex Theater, and we'll get to see outside as well, because it really sits on a beautiful, beautiful space on the water. And not many, I don't think not many theater around the world can say that they're sitting on such, even outside is so beautiful. So I guess just talk a little bit about, I'd love to, share with the audiences, what are some of the cultural events that happened, when it was obviously still fully operating, and what was been programmed here? And
we've had so many programs over the past 8.5 years. The cultural season for the theater, there are 2 seasons per year.
Okay.
And that's about 8 performances every year. We have had major ballet companies from Russia come in, like the Bolshoi and Mariinsky, and we have had orchestras and ballets, Rigoletto, La Notte di Figaro. A lot of very beautiful, high caliber performances have happened here.
Okay.
And it's been a great thing for us to see audiences attend and enjoy the shows and seeing things that they previously had to travel for.
Right.
And so it was quite busy when it was theater season, and it would almost always be a full house.
Oh, good. So since it's opening, I mean, what do you feel like the appetite for the audiences have been like? I mean, I think what people don't really realize is that in this part of the world, the Gulf countries, it's almost like a melting pot, right? It's a melting pot of Arabs and expats coming from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with audiences that is coming from different parts of the world, that speak so many different languages, that have many different tastes and likes, I mean, how is it when you're trying to decide, okay, well, which companies do I, and which artists do I invite? I mean, is that something that becomes a challenge when you're trying to program, or when you're trying to figure out, when I'm trying to put together the festival? What goes on, into that thinking process for you?
So obviously we look at what's trending around the world, what's happening, mainstream tastes in classical performances and music. But Bahrain also is a melting pot, like you said, and it has a vibrant, like, mixed population of different backgrounds and ethnicities and cultures. And tastes. So we try and bring things to cater to different interests and tastes. Like some people will love attending an opera, and others will, flock to come to see a ballet. But we find that the population here is a very open mindset. They're open to coming and seeing something maybe that they're not familiar with or haven't seen before, because there's this, hunger, I think, to see new things and understand other cultures. So we haven't really had any limitations on what kind of genre we want to bring, and we just generally get inspired by, for example, Her Excellency Sheikha May might have seen something inspiring, or a performance somewhere, or heard about something, and she'll suggest it. And obviously with performances happening here, companies will approach us and let us know that they're on tour or they'd like to come perform here, and it's a mix of many different inspiring sources.
And what has been the artists' feedback when they come? And obviously, I'm sure, like, Bahrain is not a familiar, country in sort of in their touring, routing. And So what has been, what has been their experiences when they come through Bahrain?
Well, if it's their first time, I think they're probably generally surprised because Bahrain is a small island, and then that makes people feel very familiar with one another, and then even with people coming in and visitors from abroad.
Yeah.
So the performances that have happened here, the artists have been very happy with the venue. They've been impressed by what they've seen, and the hospitality and the personal touch that they get when they come, and being welcomed from the top person in the institution, to different colleagues that we work with. They are, I think, feel very welcomed and get to see a lot of the aspects of Bahrain's culture, not just the theater where they perform. They probably get to see a fort or some of our heritage sites.
Right. And so from the programming perspective, when you're mixing sort of international Western companies to come in, but also are what are the appetite then also for the local like Bahrainian artists or like the Arab artists from the region? I mean, how does that play into who comes and who doesn't come? And
it's just as popular for us. We've had Western performances, and we've had Arabic singers from the region, like Mohammed Abdu from Saudi Arabia, and Majid al-Muhandis, and Majid al-Rumi, and many other names, and they have had a very popular request from the audiences to attend.
And so you were talking about during this situation where the theater cannot be open to the public during this past year, aside from press conferences, were you also doing virtual performances to kind of engage with?
We had some, but I think last year one of our biggest achievements is that we held our International Music Festival, which is every fall. It's around November.
Yeah.
And normally it's between the theater and the cultural hall, and there are different performances for about a week, but last year we held it in an outdoor venue. And we had acts come in from outside, different international acts from the region, from Europe, from different places, and we did it all by car. So people attended in their cars, and we had a full house parking area. We had a full parking area the entire run of the shows. People were at that point, I think, just coming out of different lockdowns and feeling so isolated from one another.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between watching something on a screen at home and being with a group of people, because there's this mass energy of excitement. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful.
Yeah, because I was yesterday I was having a conversation, a live stream conversation, just talking about the mental health that's been happening amongst us in the cultural sector and the performing arts sector, and how and actually from an audience's perspective. And we had speakers that were coming from different parts of the region, and we had a speaker from Taiwan, and then also and two of the speakers were coming from Germany. And of course Germany is facing this really tough lockdown.
Yes.
And Taiwan, is been sort of the model example during this period of COVID, because they really have the pandemic under control. So so audiences have been able to attend performances to full house, to full capacity. And of course they're all abiding by the rules. Everyone had to have their temperatures taken. Mask has to be worn as soon as you step into the hall, into the venue itself. And I've I was just there for 4 months, and I was in several of these performances, and you do feel like that need. It's that emotional, mental, for your soul, right?
Yes.
I think people are talking, we were talking about how no one really, at the end of the day now, they just don't want to see a ballet from their screen.
Not anymore.
Because it's sitting next to, it's that chemistry in the air.
I had a name for it when I first attended a concert last year, and I felt that oneness with everyone. I said, there's a collective joy.
Yes, it's true.
And then they loved it, so it picked up. But it's true, because you don't feel it when you're joyous on your own as much as you do when you're with others. And so You've seen how music has been such a saving grace. Arts, music has been for humanity. When you see the videos initially of people in their balconies playing the piano for their neighbors in different countries and cities, and it's the most beautiful bringing together of people.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's that thing that you cannot replicate, right? It's that breathing. You cannot hear a stranger breathe next to you. And we were talking about how, like, you sit in a symphony and all of a sudden the audience is breathing the same tempo along. It's almost like being conducted by the conductor, and we're led, and that is something that's truly just absolutely magical, and it really cannot be replaced by that phone or that tablet or that iPad or that computer screen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, and
especially now, I think everybody has that digital overload of all the meetings being on Zoom.
Exactly.
So I think now humans are craving that. You know,
and do you feel, I mean, do you see, like, here in Bahrain, I mean, do you feel like people are, like, they're dying to come back into the theaters and into spaces to see live performances?
I think they miss it. There's definitely been a lull in the normal programming that we could have done, like exhibition openings and concerts and even workshops for kids. And a lot of our activity is very much interactive.
Right.
So people do miss that. I'm sure that when things start to go back to normal, we will have full events in every season, in every genre, and all the arts and cultural.
So right now, are then all the museums closed, or what is it like right now? Like, aside from, like, the theaters obviously cannot, we cannot go see performances, but are like.
But that's also, I mean, with performances, there's also a lot of technicalities with travel and booking companies and other issues. But what we've found is that we've had our museum open.
Oh, okay.
We haven't had to close because Bahrain doesn't have the malls closed. The shops are open.
Right.
As long as people abide by wearing a mask and keeping groups smaller than 5 or 6. So the museum has been open, and I think people have been coming with their families, and it's such a big space. It doesn't crowd and you have people trickling in all day. And it's been lovely. We've had some visiting exhibitions as well at the museum. We have currently now an exhibition from Tohoku, Japan.
Okay.
And it's beautiful handicrafts from that city.
Okay.
And so that's there. We just don't have the public openings where you have a mass gathering at one point, but people can come anytime. Our museums, our forts, our venues are open.
Oh, good.
So people have the breathing space to go and visit, even if it's in small numbers.
So in terms of what you're planning, I mean, how do you think you will, or how do you and your team foresee sort of coming out of this period of darkness, and how are you guys planning to introduce the audience back into the theater, and do you think this is going to change how you guys plan the programming and invitation of international artists moving forward? I mean, what are some of the what are you guys thinking of as you try to plan ahead to reopen?
Well, I don't know. Last year we sat and we did all these plans of how to seat people, like, in separate rows, and we did so much. Like, the first thing you want to do is adapt and just get the situation to fit what you want to achieve. But I think now we're playing it by ear and we're seeing how things progress. We have a lot of hope for the months coming, and we hope that things will change, but we really look for directives from the government and the health ministry on what the next phases are for Bahrain. How many people can gather inside? How can we, because we can't really put the commitment and then have things get canceled. But we adapt. We're positive.
Everyone's staying positive.
We are.
Right? I think that's
all. There's only opportunity.
Yes.
There's just that, and we don't look at the challenge as a no. It's just how different do we do it now.
Right. That's good. I think that's a really, really, it's a very good mindset, right? Because we know that this exists.
Yes.
And we just have to figure out a way to make it work.
Yes. And be happy about it.
And be happy about it. Yeah, I know. I think it's just being grateful being appreciative.
Yes.
And you know, in this time, I think this whole year, everyone had such a long period to reflect.
Yes.
And to think about what does it mean to be in the theater and to be sitting here.
Yeah.
And you know, the conversation we've had so much is that I think once we're able to back, I think audiences are going to be a lot grateful.
Absolutely.
And they're not take it for granted that it's
no one will be playing with their phone.
No,
while they watch
I know,
a
right?
performance.
Exactly. Right?
Yes.
Oh, that's the thing, right? Like nowadays, people are like trying to take photos, take videos.
They'll be done with anything digital screen. So we look forward, absolutely. I mean, I think people would be so happy and grateful because now they realize that, you know, the blessings that we've always taken for granted, and now it's going to be a bit more valuable for us to get there. But we will eventually, and we hope that they'll be excited to come back.
So personally, what are some of your dream companies you would like to see on this stage once you're able to get it all open?
Well, I'd love to see more operas. I enjoyed ballets. I enjoy different arts. My children actually enjoyed the opera, so I feel that
really,
So I feel that we take it for granted that it's only for a certain age group, but we'd love to see audiences of different ages come back.
Yes.
And get it to be more accessible for children and all the arts. Anyone who would like to come to the theater, we'd want them to enjoy the show. So
right. So is opera like something that's very well received here in the theater by the audiences?
Yeah, it is. It is. Although it's a small theater. I mean, you have 1,001, so you do fill the space when we only have one performance.
Yeah.
And it's surprising to see people who have very different musical tastes, because you know everybody and you realize, oh, they like opera too, and we never assume that something is not going to be popular. You bring it and you introduce that taste to an audience, and you see that it does eventually pick up, and more people are interested in experiencing music that's different from the music of their region or of their cultural background. Right.
Well, I think this is a good time when you're talking about 1,001 seat I would love to just take the audiences for a tour of this beautiful venue. Is that okay?
That's great.
Yeah, let's go for it. So we will start off in this hall then, right?
Yes.
And you were talking about it's 1,001 seats. So why is it 1,001?
So it's 1,001 seats. It's inspired by the tale of Shahrazad and 1,001 Nights.
Okay.
It's a story about storytelling, and the essence of the theater is storytelling. That was one of the main performances, the first performances in history was storytelling. And so I think it resonates with the purpose of this theater.
Okay, so it's slightly different than what we know about the 1,001 Arabian Nights.
So she tells a story every night for the main character, who's her husband, to keep her as his wife, I think. It keeps going, and she keeps giving him like a very interesting ending, so he keeps her another day to tell him another story.
Okay.
And so storytelling is what kept her alive and what got his love in the end, and I think.
Got it. I mean, I would love for our camera guy to just do a pan of the theater, because I love the color, I love the wood of this, of the theater and the seating and the wood paneling. Who did you guys, who designed this space?
It was designed by AS Architecture Studios. They're based in Paris.
Okay.
They started working on the plans as early as 2003.
Oh, wow.
And it was completed in 2009.
Okay.
2012, sorry.
Okay.
9 years ago.
Okay. So you, even though it's only 1,001, you're able to fit an opera production into this space, the stage.
The stage is of a very high technical caliber, and it has a lot of versatility. So it's definitely been great for hosting big and small theater productions as well.
That's great, because usually opera houses are a lot, like at least 2,000 seats. So the fact that it's only 1,001, and then the audience can have such an intimate connection with an opera production or
Yeah.
even like an orchestra. It's really,
They do. You feel the energy between them and the performance. I think that it's the proximity of the space gives them that feeling that they're all together here, and then you see that energy vibrating off of the artist as well. So
Right.
it's a great space.
right, excellent. So there's there's the main space and then another,
We have a flexible theater.
okay,
That's where some of the practice sessions maybe go on, or we use that for other small events, and it has a flexible auditorium where we can increase the number of chairs there, and we've used that for different things, or smaller, closed performances.
very nice, very nice. So should we go out? And I'd
Sure.
love to see, sort of take us through maybe the second floor as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The color is so warm, but it's also not very dark, which is what I really like.
Oh yeah, it's a light.
So this
neutral
way it goes up
background.
to.
It goes up to the balcony.
Ah, okay. Can we take a look?
Sure. The architecture here is sometimes a show style, so people enjoy seeing this and the show.
Yeah, I mean, just have you done anything in this area? Like,
Not really, but it's a place I think where it's filled with people when there
Right.
is a performance. So
right. It's beautiful. And the curves is really, really gorgeous.
and you have some natural light coming in as well,
Okay.
and so the light plays with the materials.
Yes, yeah. Because generally a lot of the spaces in theaters are more on the darker scheme.
Yes.
And I like how it's,
Yes.
the color in here is it's brighter, but yet it's very warm at the same time. It's very inviting.
Yes, it has a lot of modern architecture elements, and some of the older theaters maybe were built at a different time
Okay.
in history, so the architectural styles differed. But what's lovely is that this is a very modern,
Yeah.
contemporary space.
Right. And I think it also fits them when we go outside because, outside is actually, it sits really almost like on the water.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll get to go outside. Can we peek in through the
Yeah.
balcony?
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. Let's see. Oh, is it? Uh-oh.
Might be on the other
Might be on the other side? Okay.
This is one level balcony, and then there's
There's
a
another
second
second
level.
level, okay.
Oh, there it is.
Ah, okay. Look at this space.
So you have a very good view of the stage from here.
Yes. I guess there's really no bad seat,
No.
right?
There aren't any bad seats, I think. From every spot in the theater, you have a clear view. There are no columns or anything blocking your view.
Yeah. Wow. So you said how long did it take for it to be built?
I think construction started in 2009.
Okay.
So
that's fairly quick.
Yeah.
That's fairly quick. There's some theaters that takes a long time.
I think once everything was sorted, because they started working on the plans from as early as 2003. So
Yeah. And who
that was
opened? Who opened the season? The theater when it opened? Well, do you remember who
no,
premiered?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I will
It's
get you that information though.
Excellent. So let's go out and I will show everybody the gorgeous space because next to it is also the museum.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
see the museum across the water,
Yeah.
and you can see the city of Muharrar, old city in Bahrain.
Ah, okay.
And it's Bahrain, so it's lovely for the water to
Yeah.
be around
Mhm.
our main
Yeah.
going on.
So how old is Bahrain?
Over 5,000 years.
Right.
Bahrain has a lot of history, and you can see it when you visit the different forts. We have 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites
Okay.
in Bahrain.
Okay.
And we have in Maharab as well a curling path.
Yes.
Have you visited it?
I haven't, and I was hoping I would get to visit this time. So tell people, because I didn't realize it until I actually got to this part of the world, that like the world's best pearls come from this part of the world.
Yeah, curling was a main component of Bahrain's economy for years. So
Okay.
there's a big story of all the different people who were in the curling industry in
Right.
Maharab. That's where they all lived, and that's what the curling path tells.
Got it. Because it's a huge economy in the Gulf region,
Yes.
and that they're telling me that the best pearls around the world actually comes from this part
Yeah, I
of the
think
world.
there's a photograph of Jacques Cartier in Bahrain coming
Okay.
to choose pearls for his jewelry collection.
Yes. Yeah. So should we go out this way? Because I know right now there's an
You want
exhibit.
to walk
Yeah,
this
let's
way?
walk around
Yes.
this way. So we're coming outside of the theater, and we're gonna skip the main lobby because there's an exhibit that is about to. I guess you explain
It has
to
not
us.
been revealed yet.
It hasn't been revealed yet.
Our 47th annual art exhibition
Right.
has been put up, and it's opening next month.
Okay.
And so we would like the grand reveal to be at the
Yes.
opening.
So it's we don't want to reveal it now. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, if you want to see it,
47.
you'll see
47
this is the
years.
Annual Fine Arts exhibit. Yes. And so we're outside now in this amazing space. If we can just show a little bit of the water, and if you want to tell us a little bit. So across the water here is
That's the National Museum.
okay.
And it has visiting exhibits as well as permanent exhibits.
Okay.
A lovely place that's open now. There's a cafe as well
Yeah.
on the water.
Okay.
Yes. And the view here at night is also quite stunning.
Yeah.
There's all of that line and lights.
Yeah.
Let's get a little closer.
And I love, like, it just, you feel like you are sitting on the water. It's so, I'm sure the lighting at night must be unbelievable.
It is. You have the architectural features built into the theater. There's that gold facade on the front of the building,
Right.
and that absolutely glows at night.
Yeah.
As well as if you're across the water and you're looking at the theater, it's such a beautiful
So it
view. It's all lit,
It's it lit, yeah. It lits up.
and you can see it from all around.
Yeah. And so, the statue, I love those 2 statues across the water.
So that's a perfect
Ah, okay.
paying tribute. And then there's a woman. That sculpture is of a woman that she's holding her child.
Okay.
And it basically pays tribute to the women who used to stand by the shore waiting for their husbands to come back. From curling. They did
Got
a
it.
beautiful woman.
Got it. So do pearl divers still exist now or no more?
No, now it's done with tourists and visitors and people who go on cruise, and they still find pearls.
Oh,
They
okay.
dive in certain spaces within the theater. They know that they have an opportunity to find different oysters, and then they go through them, and once in a while, some people find another pearl.
Oh, really? Ah, okay.
It's a lot of fun
Yeah.
to find your own pearl.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So should we try to go around the other side? Yeah.
So when we have events here, this area becomes sort of the gathering point, and it's always the theater season is during the best weather seasons in Bahrain. So people, generally talk to each other and network, and
Yeah.
meet people they know outside before going in to see the performance.
Right. So what are some of your favorite performances that you've seen here in the theater?
I enjoyed Rigoletto.
Okay.
and La Nozze de Figaro.
Oh, okay, okay.
I attended the Swan Lake Ballet as well.
Okay.
And that was beautiful. It was so fully booked. We had people begging for any tickets. And so recently during COVID, for New Year's Eve, we actually streamed that on our YouTube channel for 48 hours.
Got it.
So
It was let people reminisce.
So like we were saying, we kept posting content on our YouTube channel, but nothing beats coming here and being with other people and enjoying it.
Right. Well, I think, we were talking about this amongst a lot of our colleagues in the business, is that there are just certain disciplines and genres of performance that just doesn't translate well through, through that screen.
That's true. I think that it's also part of the interaction of the performer with the audience.
Yeah. It feeds off, and for something like, I think music is the most common, and music is something that can, in some ways, translate okay, but when it comes to like Swan Lake, when you have
see it all.
You can't see it all. Yeah, you can't feel that magic on stage, or even opera.
Yes.
Right? Even opera. So I think, I'm sure Bahrainians are also like dying to.
We're looking forward to having a full season soon.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait.
We'd love to have you.
I know. We used to come across the border for your festival.
Yes.
So
you do have a lot of audiences coming across the causeway from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
To many of our festivals, we have Spring of Culture.
Yes.
And the Bahrain International Music Festival.
Right. Exactly.
And then
exactly.
we have our exhibitions and art shows throughout the year. So there was quite a lot in our cultural agenda, and we hope that it goes back to that time when people can come and enjoy from here and from our neighboring.
So Bahrain is like nestled in between like Saudi Arabia, and then on your other side you've got like on the other side you have Kuwait,
Saudi Arabia, Qatar,
Qatar, Oman.
We're surrounded.
Yeah, you're surrounded by all the bigger.
And we're this small island, though.
Yes.
We've, as a people, Bahrain has always welcomed people coming through for trade. And for the history that we have of over 5,000 years, I think it's built a sort of a very hospitable nature in the people, and they love having visitors come, and they love showing them, what we have, and and seeing them being surprised and happy.
Right. So what do you think is, what do you want people to know about Bahrain? Like, who's never been to this part of the world, or who's never been to, what do you think stands out between, let's say, Bahrain and the UAE?
Well, Bahrain is a small island. I think that is the very unique core of who we are. We're islanders. And Bahrain country, you can actually drive from one side to the other in probably a couple of hours. But it's not the type of place you'd leave and forget for years.
Right.
You would remember, and if you meet Bahrainis when you're here, it will be even more likely that you will want to come back because of its unique, friendly, open environment. And Bahrainis are exposed to many different cultures. We're very open to seeing new things and learning new things about other people, and that's, I think, what makes us a great place to visit, because there will always be someone to help if you're lost, or if you need direction somewhere. We love having people come.
Yeah, I do feel that hospitality. I think it's because it's a little island.
It is.
And I compare it sometimes to Taiwan, because Taiwan is also an island in itself. So you have that island hospitality where you come and I think there's that similarity where people don't forget when you come.
Yes.
People, like you said, it's everyone is very willing and very ready to help you if you need a helping hand.
We're a familiar population and everybody feels they know the other, so you always treat others, even visitors, as if they could be a friend or a neighbor or somebody who knows your mother. And so you treat them the best way you want to, you want to welcome them. And that's, I think, the familiarity of a small population is the unique thing about Bahrain.
Right. So what would you say, let's say the first thing, would you recommend for someone to come and see if it's their first time in Bahrain?
We have a great cultural scene for all the history that we have. We have museums in the sites that we, like the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, that we have the Bahrain Fort site.
Yes.
And then we have the Pearl Path, which is also a UNESCO Heritage Site, and we have the Dilmun Burial Mound.
I got to see those.
You have to. And then they climbed a lot of things in these burial mounds, and a lot of them are at our museum, so come see the museum. And then Bahrain has some of the best restaurants. You can come and see such a great scene for restaurants, and a lot of them are Bahrain owned based establishments. And so there's a lot to do. When the weather is lovely, it's even better.
How hot does it get here in the summertime?
It gets, above 40 degrees, but we don't really feel it. We have air conditioning everywhere. There's something to do, and you have the sea and swimming and a lot to cope with the heat.
Right. So does this go into the Flex Theater on this side?
We can cross over.
Okay.
I think. We can go through the theater.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let's do that. Or are they locked again? They locked us out. Let's walk back. Let's get another view of the water. It's a beautiful day today, so we're really lucky. I know. Spring. Gosh, give it another couple of weeks and it's gonna start.
Sometimes we have great weather until June or July, and it's just intermittent and it's not consistent. So we can still enjoy walking through.
Right. And are you guys going to be planning? Do you think you'll be safe enough to plan sort of outdoor stuff, outdoor performance?
That by November we can hold the International Music Festival again.
Okay.
And we're really hoping next year we have a number of ideas for acts lined up for Spring of Culture next year, which kicks off in February every year.
Yeah.
And we'll play it as things change. We will adapt and put a plan.
Okay.
I think that it's quite possible after the summer, maybe.
I know I think it's all.
We're just being optimistic.
Everyone's just trying to stay optimistic. Everyone's staying positive, and everyone's trying to stay hopeful. And we just go with the flow.
We tailor whatever we can to fit what's happening now.
Yes,
so if we can't do what we used to do, we'll do something that fits today's restrictions and still keep that rhythm going.
Yeah. So you said, when is this?
Next month.
Next month. Okay.
In May.
Okay. And how long is this going to run for?
We'll keep it as long as we can, probably into the summer, because of there aren't many exhibitions going on. So when we do put something up now, we like to keep it going.
Okay.
For as many people to come visit as possible.
Great. So hopefully for the audiences, if you have a chance, come by Bahrain. Okay.
A lot of companies come and they do some of the practices in that space.
Okay, so it's also
We use it as well for mini seminars, press conferences, or any small gathering. I think it has around 130 seats.
Okay.
Is modular and it can be adapted to come out by certain numbers, or it can completely go into the wall.
Oh, okay.
So then you have just a big open space.
Okay.
But when we have any event, a speaking event or a seminar, then you can adjust the chairs.
Okay. And have performances been done in here as well, or not as much?
We've had workshops in
Okay.
here, maybe for people who are doing music workshops, so they need the acoustics for instruments. We've had press conferences and a couple of conferences, seminars on certain topics,
Yeah.
where you have speakers and a panel, and the attendance is all it's quite full. And then you have people on the sides, but it's a great space
Yeah.
in a big, beautiful building.
Yes,
And
it's
people
true.
love coming here because it's in the theater. So.
Yeah, so you don't have to be separated and to go
Yeah.
to another space. So
Yeah.
it's quite functional in
Yeah.
itself.
And it supports a lot of our activities in the main stage.
Mm-hmm. So aside from like performances itself, do you do additional sort of like master classes or
Whenever.
when there is when a performance comes through?
Whenever we have an opportunity to build on the presence of an artist
Yeah.
or a talent, we would definitely organize a workshop or a seminar
Okay.
or a speaking event for
Yeah.
that person. Because I think one of my main goals as well is to bring in culture in through education.
Yes.
And even familiarize people who are just interested in taking a class in the evening or understanding a genre that they're not familiar with. So
Exactly, it's true.
education is a big part of my agenda as well.
Very nice. So do you then reach out to the schools, or how do you or
We post about it on our social media channels.
Okay.
We get applications and people book their spaces.
Mm-hmm. And how often do you see like young audiences come into your big space to watch performances?
Sometimes I think for the ballets more often.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it depends on the age restriction. Some shows are for 12 and above, depending on. But I've taken my daughter, and she was 7 or 8, to performances, and she was enchanted throughout. So I think that there is an opportunity to give kids, that space to come in, even when we think that it's probably for 16 and above. Kids do enjoy a lot of different things.
Right, we underestimate.
We do.
We underestimate. I think in the West, I'm used to a lot of places where they just don't allow children under a certain age to come in.
Yeah, sometimes we assume they're going to be disruptive, but actually they're sometimes the most engaged audiences.
Well, I've tried to encourage my sister, at some of her shows, my shows that would go on to her city in Boston. She's like, there's no way I can bring my, 5-year-old. I was like, are you sure? You could try. But I think mentally we're just we're so accustomed.
We're worried about
disturbing the audiences for sure. It's so.
I would love to have a performance that's for kids only.
Right. I was actually one thing that I thought was so fascinating is this idea when I was doing a guided tour with the National Theatre in Taiwan. One of the programming is about inclusivity. And we're inclusivity meaning from all ages, and also talking about people of disability. And then they actually were doing a whole series for kids who are autistic or have those kind of on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And their performances that are exclusively produced for them, so that they would have like special headphones to calm them down, or like they allow them to be able to be brought in and out.
Yes, the accessibility. It's beautiful, and it's a very important role for music and art.
Yes,
I think it has a lot of healing capacity, and we should make it accessible to people with difficulties and disabilities and challenges.
Right.
To be able to feel
For
at
sure,
home here.
for sure. And then again, it speaks to how much we are all looking forward to be back physically in these gorgeous spaces. And I wanted to thank you again today, Farah, for this amazing, opportunity, because I think most people don't really know what this part of the world looks like. And when I tell them that I live here in this part of the world, there's so much question marks.
Yes, but it's great. You're giving all the answers.
And I wanted to really share with the world, it is a beautiful space. It's a beautiful country, and the people are beautiful. The Bahrainians really are very warm and very hospitable. So if audiences want to learn more about the National Theatre, where should they go?
They can come to our website.
Okay.
Culture.
BahrainCulture.gov. It's okay, give it to
They'll
me.
find
And
it, BACA, Bahrain
BACA,
Authority
okay.
for Culture and Antiquities.
Okay, okay.
And our website has a lot of links to the different institutions that are under us, and as well as other, and our social media channel as well. Culture Bah, that I remember. CULTUREBAH.
Great.
That's Instagram.
Great. Okay. I think everyone's very much on Instagram here.
That's, yes, the website's
right?
flown out of
It's okay. It's okay. We'll make sure we post everything so that, you know, you guys can have a chance afterwards to learn more about what the National Theatre is doing, and to learn more about what BACA is doing culturally, and this is, you know, in a way, this is a way just to kind of a little bird's eye view of what's happening in this, you know, in Bahrain. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I really, really appreciate it.
We're so happy to have had you with us.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you. And thank you guys today for joining me. Stay tuned for our other, you know, upcoming series of conversations in this part of the world. Thank you. Take care. Bye.